Good afternoon. This is Anthony from Havoc Games. This is going to be another short unboxing video. This time I'm going to go through what are called the combat action cards that make up Havoc, the combat card game. Combat action cards are really the heart of the game. There are 864 poker-sized cards in the complete set. Combat action cards make up about 485 of those cards. So I'll go through these now. You have attacks, advanced attacks, defenses, advanced defenses, and pause cards. So for the attacks, there are different types of attacks. All the combat action cards are green backed, so when you're playing your opponent can't tell what's in your hand. Different types of attacks. Attacks are basically dependent somewhat on the weapon, also on the class. So a smash would be the type of attack a fighter could use using a mace or a flail. A great blow is an exclusive type of attack for the knight class. Slashes, a fast but shallow slice, cutting weapons or slashing weapons, swords and daggers and the like. Different types of slash cards. A cut, which is a heavy biting gash with a heavier bladed weapon or an axe, something like a long sword, great sword, a falx, a war axe. And I'm missing my ferocious blow in this deck. You also have advanced attacks. So knights and barbarians, when they become really powerful fighters, they can use something called a ferocious great blow. Different types of very advanced fighters can use something called a master cut, deep slash, hard cut, artful thrusts. So those are advanced attacks. You also have defenses. You can attack, defend, or pause. So the defenses are all green-backed, but whereas the attacks are red, defenses are blue. You have shield parry, dodge, haft parry, and where is my blade parry? Blade parry. As you can see, all the cards have full color art showing historically accurate descriptions of the different types of fighters. Basic attacks and advanced attacks. So more advanced, a better fighter could use an angled shield parry or a master shield parry. Better type of dodge. Everything that's on the cards is what you need to play the game. You don't need to keep referring to complicated tables or rule books or anything like that. You just look at the cards, and it's all pretty straightforward. Fencer's blade parry, angled half parry. So you can attack, you can defend, you can pause and let the armor take it. Pause card. Pause can be deliberate or it can be inadvertent because you are out of combat actions in your combat round. When you build a deck, every deck consists of 25 combat action cards. It's a mix of attacks, defenses, and pauses. Your attacks and defenses are really based off of your class, and then also off of the type of weapon you have, whether or not you have a shield. Naturally, if you don't have a shield, you can't shield parry. In terms of the types of attacks and the types of defenses, it's pretty much linked to the weapons. So I'll go through the weapons real quick. Let's see what we got here. So sword. A sword can slash, thrust, or blade parry. So here's a slash. I don't think I have the thrust right there. Blade parry, half parry, blade parry. Examples of cards you'd be able to pick. You build out your deck, being a mix of slashes, thrusts, blade parries. If you have a shield, you'd add a shield parry. That's going to come up to almost certainly something less than 25 cards. And what you do there is you just add enough pause cards into your deck to meet 25. Then you can build your deck. And there's my quick follow-up. Some of the other, so thrust is another type of weapon attack that can apply. That depends on the weapon. So a sword can slash, thrust, or blade parry. So everything that you need to figure out your to-hit roll and your damage rolls and so forth are contained on the card. So if you're using a sword, maybe you take a mix of slashes, blade parries, and thrusts. If you're using a mace, you can only do a smash, or you could do a dodge. Here's an example of a great sword and the sword. Great sword is on the left, sword is on the right. So with the great sword, you can do a cut, a thrust, or blade parry. With a sword, you can do a slash, a thrust, or a blade parry. The number of action cards that's there, what you'll see is that the sword has 9 action cards. The great sword has 4. So a fighter using a sword, because it's a lighter weapon, is going to have more actions at their disposal. Of course, the great sword is a longer weapon, with length 8 over length 5 sword. That means that using a great sword, you'd have the opportunity to hit your opponent first, unless you can close inside their, your opponent can close inside your weapon length. The sword is a bit easier to use than a great sword, and so doesn't have a negative to hit modifier. It also does a lot less damage, does 6 damage, whereas the great sword does 10. And the red die, that's really interesting. So when you roll a to hit roll, you roll the red die and the white die combined. The number on the red die is called the red die result. And sometimes that can be adjusted depending on what combat action you use. And you'll see that the great sword has a greater chance of a more injurious result. It can do a wound or a bash or a wound and bash. And then red damage, that's bonus damage that applies in certain instances. But using your weapon type, you would then choose your combat actions based off of your available types of combat actions that are allowed for you. Another type of thrust. And then ferocious blow. You would do a mix of attacks, defenses, and pauses to build up your 25 card deck of combat action cards. And then you'd get down to fighting. So that's it in terms of combat action cards, also a little bit about weapons. Thanks for watching. We hope you support us. Bye.